everyone, it's Julie Pahar here. It is Family Day, February the 15th. Happy Family Day to everybody. I'm checking in today to bring you a brief midterm review via YouTube video because if you recall, our class last week got cut short because of the fire alarm. I was worried that just posting the PowerPoint in Slate would cause some of you some anxiety and not give you an opportunity to hear from me about the midterm. So I've been trying to figure out a way to bring you some information that will help you. So I hope this is helpful to you. Remember that our exam is going to go ahead next Monday, which is the 22nd at 6 p.m. Just check the date on my calendar. Yes, Monday the 22nd. And you've got plenty of time this week, I hope, to have a study and a review. The review PowerPoint is posted in Slate, and I'm just going to walk through it now and give you a few little hints and tips, and I hope it's helpful to you. I'll also have time at the beginning of class on the 22nd to talk to you more about some of the actual logistics of the exam. The first thing I want to remind you is you need to bring a pencil because we're going to be doing the exam via a Scantron card. You've probably seen these before, but if you haven't, it's just a card with the numbers 1 through, well, it'll be 55 in our case because we have 55 questions that you'll be filling in with a little bubble and a pencil. So you need an HB pencil. Please bring at least one, if not two, so in case one breaks, you've got one for yourself or if a neighbor breaks. So just, I'm sure you've done that before. Okay, so about the exam. The exam is 90 minutes long, so an hour and a half. In my experience, some students finish in the half-hour time frame. Most take closer to an hour, and some take up to 90 minutes, which is absolutely fine. I'm there for the 90 minutes, happy to stay. Nobody should feel rushed. The odd time you'll find a student that will sort of duck out after 20 or 25 minutes, and it's always kind of a bit alarming. So I always look at it this way. Either that student is completely on the ball and just answers questions one shot and gets through them, or that student is having trouble and doesn't know the answer to any of them and is upset and is just leaving. So try not to be worried if a student gets up and leaves after 20 or 25 minutes. Some do, and that's okay. Most, as I say, take closer to 45 minutes or an hour, and you can have the whole time. If you have an accommodation and you're going to take longer or write in another location, please make sure those arrangements have been made, and if you need any help with that, get in touch with me this week. Okay, so 90 minutes. So yes, all multiple choice except to start the exam, I'm going to give you the exam kit with 55 questions and one sheet of paper with a space to fill in for 5 questions, and that's the graphic. And I know we've talked about this before. So one of the graphics, hint, hint, I know I've talked about which one it could possibly be, will have some spaces for you to fill in the blank, and I'll just mark those separate from the Scantron card. So that you're going to have 2 sheets of paper in front of you, the exam kit with 55 questions, and then this piece of paper and your Scantron card. So actually that's 3 things in front of you. We'll go over that again when we get together. Okay, so the exam is worth 20% of your overall mark, but there's 60 questions on the exam, 55 in the kit and 5 on the graphic. And that means that each question is only really weighted for a score of 1/3 of a mark. So if you don't know the answer to a question, I would advise you to take a guess and fill it in because you never know. You've got 1 in 5 chances of getting it right. When I do the analytics on the exam afterwards, if there's a question or 2 or 3 that were not scored well by the class in general, I'll have a look at those and can adjust for those. And that may not be that the class, didn't do well on the question. It probably means that I either didn't relay the material properly to you, or the question itself is flawed. And that happens all the time, so don't worry about that. If there's a question that stumps everybody, I can adjust for that. Okay, so what else do I want to tell you? All the rules for writing exams apply. I'll go over them again on Monday. They are posted in the PowerPoint for week 1. So things like, being on time and things that you're not allowed to have on the desk and no talking and academic dishonesty, looking at other people's papers, etc. And I'm sure, you're familiar with all of that. We'll go over it again. Just know that your cell phones will not be allowed on the table at all. So you may not even want to bring them in. They're going to have to be in your pocket or in your knapsack under the table. I won't allow them on the table. You can have a water bottle, but I don't want any food on the table unless you've got a dietary issue, which you can discuss with me. Some people need to have food every 20 minutes or 30 minutes. In that case, I'm okay with it. But other than that, I'm not going to allow bags of food or chip bags or gum wrappers or that kind of thing. So just so you know that. So, okay, let's talk about the actual exam. The exam is in 4 sections, as I mentioned. The first section is a separate sheet of paper with the ability to fill in 5, fill in the blank. It is a graphic. So in the PowerPoint presentations, weeks 1 through 5, if there's a graphic that I used and we spent time on it, that's possibly one of the graphics that could be on that page. Okay, so the first section, so again, the next 55 questions are all multiple choice. The first section is a fill in the blank. And on the PowerPoint that I've posted for you, you'll see an example. And the example I gave was choosing one word out of a word bank that fits the description. So in this case, I've put gender is considered a blank. So you're going to have a sentence like that and a word bank of 5 words lettered lettered A, B, C, D, and E. You'll choose the word that best fits that sentence and fill in on the Scantron the letter that is associated with it. I've broken those word banks into 5 word chunks. And I think that you'll find that it's fairly straightforward. I've done it before where I've done 20 words in a word bank and it really got students mixed up. So I've broken it down. So that's fairly straightforward. So that section 1 was the graphic. Section 2 is this word bank idea. Section 3 is more of a definition. It is still a word bank kind of thing where you're going to be filling in a word, but I've done it in a bit of a chart form, and it's a bit more of a straight up definition. So in units 2, 3, and 4 in the PowerPoints, there was a lot of definitions. Things like power and privilege, social construction, social identity, those kinds of things. You'll want to know those definitions off of the PowerPoints because that's what you're going to see in section 3. And then section 4 is straight up multiple choice. I've given you a couple of examples in the PowerPoint of multiple choice questions. So one example is diversity. So the question is diversity, and then you've got A, B, C, D, and E definitions of diversity. You choose the one that's best suited, and in some cases I've got all of the above, in some cases there's none of the above, and in some cases I've got, B and D, that kind of thing. So spend some time really reading those questions. They're not meant to trick you. So just make sure, that you go through them read all the words carefully, and I don't think you'll have any trouble with that. Okay. So that's sort of the review of the exam. 90 minutes, multiple choice, except for the sheet that's got 5 fill in the things around the image. 55 questions, multiple choice. Bring your pencil. Okay. So now, typically when I do a review in class, students ask some questions, and I'm sorry that you don't have a chance to ask me questions. It's not two-way right now. But here's a couple of questions that people typically ask. So people typically ask, so what should I study and what materials are included in the exam? And here's the answer. The majority of questions have been built from the PowerPoints, and the PowerPoints have been built from the readings. So the readings are fair game. So there might be something from the readings. I think I've given you examples that the Andrea Rupert article, for example, is fair game, and there will be question or two on that. The Peggy McIntosh article on white privilege is also another one that you are going to see that on the exam. So those are a couple of examples of articles that we've spent time identifying the author, talking about them. So those are fair game for sure. What you know for sure, and if you only have time to study, either the PowerPoints or the readings, I would say stick to the PowerPoints. The vast majority of questions have been built off the PowerPoints, including week 1, which I know was an introductory week, but I've added a couple questions in there that might surprise you. So have a read through week 1, and then week 2, 3, and 4 are super important because that's where all the foundational work for this course is done. There are some questions from week 5, which we did last time, which is multiculturalism. So again, don't stress about those dates. There's nothing that's too particular there. So that's what you need to study, and that's what's included. Another question that people often ask, so are any of the units more weighted than others? So is there, a heavy weighting on one of the units versus the other? And the answer, I think I just answered that before, is that no, they're all included. So units, sort of weeks 1 through 5 are all there. You're going to see questions for all of them. But I would say that weeks 2, 3, and 4 are probably the most heavily weighted. And that's where you're going to see the majority of questions. Right. So I hope that there's not any other burning questions that you're thinking of right now, because you can't ask them of me because I can't hear you or talk to you. So I hope that I've answered the majority of your questions. You've got the review in Slate, so just have a look through it. I have finished marking all of your self-portrait assignments, and I will go on and on about this when we get together, but they were fantastic. And you've all, for the most part, done extremely well. So you're going into the exam in a really good position. And I really think that you're picking up these concepts. I'm really, really happy. So don't stress about the midterm. You're all going to do fine. I'm going to post the marks from your portraits as soon as I can get the grade book entered into Slate. And that's something I have to do on my end. So I do have all of your marks, and they were great. So no worries. After the midterm, it's reading week, and then you're returning for media, and there's nothing due that day. So I wanted you to have your reading week with no stress, come back with no assignment. We have a guest speaker for the media unit who's fantastic. So the next few weeks look really great. And that really is... that's really all I've got to say in terms of review. So the last, and I hope this has been helpful for you. The last thing I want to say is if you have any burning questions that I haven't answered in this little YouTube, feel free to email me, though know that I'm not on my email every day. I'll try to answer anything by Friday of this week, so I know you'll need that going into the weekend to study. So I hope this works for you, and I'm sorry that we got our class cut a little bit short. Have a wonderful family day for the rest of the day. Have a great week, and I will see you on Monday, February 22nd at 6 o'clock for the exam. Take care, everyone. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.